Mr. Smith-Guido.
Here.
Mr. Soto. The President Reichenbach.
Here, Councilmen Graupera and Soto are excused from this evening's meeting. Approval of the minutes for the April 23rd, 2019 meeting.
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council comments from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ballentine.
Aye.
Ms. Gray.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Guido.
Aye.
The President Reichenbach.
Aye. Moving on to proclamations, honors, and awards of recognition. I'm excited this evening to start off with recognition of the J.P. McCaskey Small Learning Community Scholars. This is one of the most exciting things we get to do every year, and you know, I'll be honest, as a McCaskey grad, it's the most exciting thing I get to do, so it's pretty amazing. So I'm glad to have the students here this evening. What I'm going to do is read each student's name, and if you just all want to come up together one by one when your name is called, Councilwoman Diaz and Councilwoman Craig are going to meet you up front and present you with a certificate. And if you want to say something, the microphone is yours. Go ahead. We like to limit comment to 3 minutes here, so please keep it under 5. But you certainly earned it with your work, and you're more than welcome to speak on the microphone if you'd like to. Okay. And if I mistakenly pronounce anything, please forgive me. My skills are limited in pronunciations, but I will try my best. We are starting off with Nicholas Spiedel. And if you can all remain standing up at the front when you get them, I'm sure the councilwoman would like to take a picture with you. Hannah Biles. Raina Moses. Darian Harris. Mariam Hassan Ubakar Muhammad. Yes, Marie Nicole Seda. Yanexi Lopez. And last but certainly not least, China Ajani Dejor Jordan. So I would say this, if of any case in this chamber, deserves a standing ovation for these students. So if we could rise and give them a clap. Thank you all for your hard work and dedication for what you've done and what you've accomplished. You certainly make us proud here in the city of Lancaster. I know it's not easy. It's a lot of hours of work, and we appreciate you. And also a shout out to the parents, because I'm sure a lot of you parents drive them back and forth and support them in their cause. Moms and dads and siblings who help out. So we want to thank you as well for all the work you've done. So kids, thank you very much. One more round of applause, and keep up the great work. Parents, if you want to take a picture, perfect timing right here. I can hide if you don't want my face in it, but I'm sure the councilwoman would love to take a picture with your students, so please feel free if you'd like to take a moment for the memories you need. Thank you all very much. Keep making us proud. Very excited for you. Thank you. We're moving on to Administration Resolution number 20, 2019, which is also something we're excited to have the opportunity to do. Yes. So I had one more student. If they just walked in, I certainly don't want them to miss their opportunity. So would that be China?
I'm sorry.
Oh, don't apologize. That's fine. Come on up. So, do you mind walking down and presenting for this young lady? Thank you very much. That's okay. Don't be shy. You can stand there. You don't have to apologize. You earned the right to stand up there. So we gave a standing ovation. You certainly were part of that standing ovation. But can we give China a clap as well? I would give those out all night if I could. So thank you to everybody who came out. It's really exciting. It's one of the best parts of our job, so thank you very much. Again, Administration Resolution number 20, 2019 is also something exciting that we get to do, recognizing National Public Works Week in the city of Lancaster. Mr. Harris.
Yes, Mr. President. Resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster celebrating National Public Works Week in commemoration of the tens of thousands of men and women in North America and the City of Lancaster who provide and maintain the infrastructure and services collectively known as public works.
I have a motion and a second. Council comments? I will just say that we talk about our public works people all the time, and if you live in the city of Lancaster, you see them on a daily basis. You see them at 4 o'clock in the morning, you see them at 11 o'clock at night, you see them when it's 100 degrees outside, you see them when it's below zero. I think some of the work that our public works people do go unnoticed because it's work that we don't necessarily pay attention to, but our city would not function without them. And it's every single day, 24 hours a day. Water departments, sewer departments, pipes busting in the middle of the winter. When me and you were in the house thinking, man, who would be crazy enough to go outside? The men and women in our water and sewer department are in holes, in the ground, on the street, in open air, fixing those, so that when you turn your faucet on, it works. You don't even think twice about it. I think sometimes I have to remind myself, and I've been doing this a long time, how hard they work and the sacrifices they make from their families, being on call, and when we need them the most, they just show up. And the amazing thing about them, a lot like some of our other employees, is they never ask for recognition. I never once hear them go, did you know how cold it was and I was outside? Not one time. They just do it. They're thankful that they're able to serve our community, and it's really, really a pleasure to be able to serve with them. So I think we have a representative. Do we have a representative? We have several. Would you all mind standing up for us, please? Because you're going to get a round of applause, too. You deserve it. Stand. Don't be shy. Stand up. So we have a resolution that's signed, and Cindy, if you wouldn't mind coming up and accepting this. Councilman Smith-Waddell, you're closest to the left. Would you mind presenting that? I will call for a vote, just so when he hands it to you, it's official. I don't think we're going to vote this one down, but I feel like you deserve to have a vote. So, Mr. Harris, if you could call a vote, please.
Mr. Ballentine.
I may have been mistaken in my...
Aye.
Ms. Gray?
Aye.
Ms. Diaz?
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell?
Aye.
And President Reichenbach?
Aye. Congratulations and thank you, Cindy. If you want to share anything on behalf of your employees, please do so.
Thank you, guys.
No, I did just want to say that, I've been in this job for 3 years now, and every day I am amazed at the scope of services that, Public Works provides to the residents and the surrounding communities. So they provide, like as you mentioned, services that we take for granted every day, and they do it with pride and dedication, and that's one of the things that I'm really proud to be part of the Public Works. And I just wanted to reiterate that, Public Works employees are smart, they're ambitious, and they are creative in dealing with, a lot of the issues that we have in the city and with the resources that they have. So I just wanted to shout out and say thank you, everyone, for coming, and thank you to the other 200 plus employees that work in Public Works. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. So we move on to our first public comment period of the evening, and this is reserved for citizens who've contacted the city clerk prior to the meeting to request the opportunity to address City Council. I would ask that you limit the duration of your comments to 3 minutes. Mr. Harris, do we have anybody call ahead this evening?
Yes, we do, Mr. President. We have Terry Brown.
Okay, Mr. Brown, good evening, sir.
everybody can see it. Can put the camera on this thing? On this thing?
Mr. Brown, I don't want you to limit your time speaking, so I'd encourage you, if you have the opportunity,
Oh,
to begin your comment.
this is heavy, serious, major, confidential.
Do you need help or you got it?
I got it.
Okay.
Great.
I didn't bring everything with me. No. I don't need to bring everything with me.
Mr. Brown, your voter registration.
Okay. All that stuff there is major serious.
My name is Terry D. Brown, 233 West Chestnut Street.
Thank you.
I'm going from way back 20 years ago at Barnes Street. Charlie Smith was the mayor. And I'm saying right thing for the mayor right now, right here. When you call the cops on me, for no reason at all, period, I'm telling you for your face, you'll never be a politics in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, as long as I live in Lancaster. Okay?
I didn't call them.
No, yes, you did, because Sergeant...
Mr. Brown,
Hold,
if you want to just...
no, okay, I'm not worried about it. Sergeant Nichols came to my door, 4 officers sitting outside waiting for me. But I'm not worried about that. But I'm going to ask you, miss, who was the 5th candidate running for mayor for Lancaster City?
Mr. Brown, it's a public comment period. not a public Q&A.
This is major serious, heavy serious, and confidential.
I respect that. Just remember, it's a comment period.
I know, yeah.
Q&A.
But I got to ask, who was the 5th candidate running for mayor for Lancaster City? Man, that's right. Do you know who was the 5th candidate?
Enlighten us.
Huh? Don't you know who the 5th candidate? Okay, President Reichenbach, can I please tell the youth and the people who was the 5th candidate? Okay, number 1, our mayor. Number 2, Cindy Stewart from E-Town. Number 3, Norman Briscoe. Number 4, Kevin Russell. Number 5 is Terry D. Brown from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And I came in 2nd place as the mayor. What place did you come in? And you was the mayor. I was uptown because I came in 2nd place as the mayor. Hang on, because if John Graupera was here, right? Because I shook his hand uptown. Okay? And when I was here, and John Graupera was the president, because I came to see Rick, every time I came to see Rick Gray, he was not here. Because he knew what he did. I didn't care. I said I was going to wait for the 4 years go past, but I'm going to sit back once you call the cops on me, right? Then I'm everything that thing. Because in the state of Pennsylvania, Commonwealth, you cannot run in the primary and the regular election at all, period. You cannot do it because, see, like I said, you can get charged, you can get sued for that there as a mayor. And because you ran in the primary against Cindy Stewart, and you run against the election against Cindy Stewart. You're in. No, that's politics. Like I'm saying, one thing, why you did call the cops on me, because I checked up on it. That's why they call me Detective Brown. That private investigative stuff on there, I do all that kind of work. I know you did call the cops. Sergeant Nichols told me, another sergeant told me. Lieutenant told me you did call the cops. That I threatened you, but I told him about a book. Now, look, I'm talking about a book, so I'm going to tell you the truth, right? All the words I hear out in the street, right? There's so much stuff out in the street that you don't hear. But I'm saying I want a police officer in here to have everybody here protected. Because there's too many shooting going, people going in, people going in. Somebody just went into a college, shot up people for nothing, then killed his own self. People wanted, a Jehovah's Witness, shut up people.
Sure. And I'd ask you to just finish up your point if you don't mind.
That's why I say I don't want that to happen here. Because there's a lot of things going on, just like, I hate to say it, when the mayor told the reporter that you slept inside of now I don't know, that's what they told me. Did you sleep inside of the city hall? Because they're charged.
Finish your comment.
It's a whole lot more. It was a picture of it. But all that stuff there is me, and I'm signed. I did that there, and I had the city council approve it. And over 20 years ago, over Charlie Smith's law, you just made me brought 20 years of experience back inside my head, and I didn't want to bring 20 years of experience back in my head.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
And that's
I appreciate your comment. Thank you.
Never be a politics on that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Do we have any other public comments?
No,
Thank you. We'll move on to reports requested by council. I don't believe we have any this evening.
We do not.
Okay. We'll move right into reports of committees of council meetings. These committees of council meetings were held on May 6, 2019. We'll be starting for the Public Safety Committee, and I'm going to have Councilman Ballentine report for Councilman Soto, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Mr. President. In Councilman Soto's absence, I will report on the May 5th activities. During last week's Public Safety Committee meeting, 2 items were discussed. Administration Bill number 5, 2019, amending the Emergency Management Ordinance, and Administration Bill number 8, amending the city's health standards code to authorize immediate abatement of unsanitary conditions. Both items were on the agenda this evening for first reading, so we'll hear more about that when they come up. With that completes the report.
Thank you. We'll move into Public Works Committee. I'll be reporting in place of Councilman Graupera. We had quite a lengthy Public Works Committee. For those who attended, we learned a lot of new things. We talked about commuter rail. We talked about a 100-year plan for monorails and some other interesting conversations during the meeting. We also spoke about the active transportation plan related to a report from Lancaster Bikes. Talked about some of their excitement for the active transportation plan and some of the feedback that they were looking to share in terms of the plan going forward. Which was, again, a very interesting conversation that will continue to go on going forward. In terms of legislation, Administration Bill number 20, 2019, recognizing the next National Public Works Week, which we already passed, was discussed. Administration Resolution number 21, 2019, authorizing the appointment of a special counsel to the city. This will come up on tonight's agenda, so I'll speak more about that when it comes up on the agenda. Administration Resolution number 22, 2019, authorizing a grant request for the Conestoga Pines Park Trail. That's also on the agenda this evening, so I'll speak about that more when it comes up. Administration Resolution number 23, 2019, authorizing a grant request for the Long Spark Stormwater Project. This is not a recording, that's also on the agenda, and I will speak about that shortly. Administration Bill number 6, 2019, authorizing a traffic signal maintenance agreement with East Lancaster Township. That also is on the agenda this evening. I'll be speaking about that when it comes up. And last but certainly not least, Administration Bill number 7, 2019, authorizing the eminent domain taking of a utility easement 1401 Columbia Avenue. Again, is on the agenda this evening, and I'll speak about that when it comes up in more detail. That concludes the Public Works Committee report. We'll move on to Economic Development Committee, Councilwoman Craig.
Economic Development, Councilman President, thank you.
Thank you. Move on to Finance Committee, Councilman Ballentine.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finance had 2 items to be discussed at the committee meeting. While we opened with the presentation regarding the Lancaster Parking Authority bond guarantee. The funds will pay for construction of the new parking garage in place of the Annex building between the 101 North Queen and the Holiday Inn along Lancaster Square. The bond debt is expected to be self-liquidating in that the revenue from the garage, along with an increment remitted from the City Revitalization and Improvement Zone Authority, will be used to repay it. Without the city guarantee, which will provide a comfort level for investors and ensure a lower interest rate on the bonds, the authority would go to the bond market with only the estimated revenues from future garage parking fees as collateral for repayment. At the June Finance Committee meeting upcoming, the financial advisors of the Parking Authority and the city will attend to describe the bond issues and the process for anyone who's interested. Parking Authority is expected to present an ordinance on June 11th for first reading, consideration, and a vote then on June 25th, in which the city will guarantee repayment on a $28.5 million bond. No council action will be needed this evening. The second item we discussed was Administration Resolution number 24, which will authorize an auction of obsolete city property and equipment. Brief details will be provided when this comes up on the agenda later. And with that, concludes finance.
Thank you, Councilman. Moving on to Community Planning Committee, Councilman Smith-Whitehouse.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Community Planning Committee had quite a meeting this month. We broadly took 2 items into consideration. One was the ordinance and procedures governing our historic districts, and with the advice of Mr. Patterson here and Suzanne Stallings, our historic preservation specialist, the committee discussed some possible changes in policy regarding both evidentiary standards and the timing by which demolitions within the historical district might come to the Community Planning Committee and to council. They're going to take that into their shop and bring that out in the form of some ordinance changes, which will then discuss at committee and ultimately pass or not pass. The second item that we addressed were zoning text amendments that we will, was that for the June 11th meeting? I'm sorry, I lost it.
June 11th.
Yeah, for the regular council meeting. But so we looked at zoning text amendments, addressing several things, including accessory dwelling units, reducing the minimum square footage required for conversion from single-family units to multi-family units, limiting business hours in residential areas, easing minimum lot size requirements to allow easier conversion of single-family buildings into multi-family units, and amending the small wireless communications facilities ordinance to meet FCC requirements at the time, among others. Broadly, that's what we discussed, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. And thank you for bringing those issues to the forefront. I think that's a conversation that's been a long time coming, and it's been really exciting. And as Mr. Patterson is still here to be able to mine his vast knowledge, and that was not sarcasm, to get all the information we can when we can to really move forward on that. So thank you, Councilman. It was a great conversation. Moving on to Personnel Committee, Councilwoman Diaz.
Yes, Mr. President. The Personnel Committee at May 6th committee meeting interviewed Angela Hurst for the reappointment of the Lancaster City Land Banking Authority. Ms. Hurst's reappointment will be for a four-year term, March 21st, 2019 to March 21st, 2023. I'd like to make a motion to approve the reappointment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Council comments from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ballentine.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell.
Aye.
And President Reichenbach.
Aye.
And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. The Committee of the Whole also met on May 6th, and the only item on the agenda for the Committee of the Whole was a proposal that I brought forth to council members to consider canceling the second regular council meeting in July and August of 2019 only as a pilot to take a look and see how it would work. There are several municipalities across the state who cancel their second meetings over the summer months to help with administration, planning vacations, also council members and the like. It seems to work pretty well, especially the fact that legislation is significantly slower over the summer months. So council discussed it. It does not require a legislative action. The decision was made to cancel the second meeting only of July and August of 2019, so it's 2 meetings less this year, to give it a sense of see how it works. There was conversation about the concerns about limiting public comment because you're removing 2 meetings. So we are certainly going to take that into consideration. Again, this does not link us to doing this in the future. It's just an opportunity to see how it works. We'll get the feedback from the public as well as others and see how it works. If it works well, maybe we'll continue it, and if it doesn't, we can scrap it for next year. So there'll be public notices made. There will be information, I'm sure, posted on the website as a reminder of the second meetings in July and August of 2019 will be canceled for City Council. That concludes the committee reports. We'll move into the legislative agenda, Historic District.
Considering the following applications and recommendations from the Historical Architectural Review Board for improvements to properties within the Historic District. First, we have Jeffrey and Tracy Kirchner, owners of 238 North Mary Street, request replacement of a step railing on the front entry steps. Second is Gemini Musser, owner of 437 Church Street, request replacement of a steel front entry door with a wooden door. And last, we have Harry Yankel and Annette Anakin, owners of 335 East Orange Street, request reinstallation of a wooden porch railing and wooden brackets along the roof cornice.
And these applications were all recommended for approval, correct, from the Historic Commission? Okay. Unless there's any dispute about it, I'd be okay to take a motion for all 3 of these at one time.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve all 3 applications. Comments from council, from the public?
Why are you taking all 3 at one time?
Because they're all unanimously approved, and therefore if council individually doesn't want to pull one out, there's no reason to have to. That's council's prerogative if they choose to. Any other comments from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ballentine.
Aye.
Ms. Gray.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell.
Aye.
And President Reichenbach.
Aye. We'll move into ordinances for first reading. Just as a reminder, these ordinances will not be voted on. We won't need motions and seconds for these. They will be brought up again at our first meeting in June, our second meeting in May. First ordinance for first reading, Administration Bill number 5, 2019.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lancaster, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, amending the Code of the City of Lancaster, Chapter 136, Emergency Management, Sections 136.4 and 136.5, to allow the Emergency Management Director and Deputy Director to be either residents or employees of the City of Lancaster, providing for the repeal of inconsistent ordinances, providing for the severability of the ordinance, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect as provided by Pennsylvania law.
Councilman Ballentine, if you wouldn't mind briefly speaking on this.
Sure.
Thank you.
So briefly, in an effort to update the city's emergency management plan, this bill amends the emergency management ordinance with changes which allow the city's emergency management director and deputy director to be either city employees or city residents. Currently, those positions are limited to city staff. If there is anything there?
Thank you. Again, we will be voting on this at our May 28th meeting, if my math is correct. Move on to Administration Bill number 6, 2019.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lancaster, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the city to enter into an intergovernmental cooperative agreement with East Lancaster Township regarding the installation, maintenance, and ownership of shared traffic control devices, setting forth the duration of the term of the agreement, the purposes and objectives of the agreement, the manner and extent of financing the agreement, the organizational structure for the implementation of the agreement, the manner in which property is acquired, managed, or licensed, or disposed of, and pursuant to the agreement, providing for the repeal of inconsistent ordinances, providing for the severability of the ordinance, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect.
So that is a lot of words to basically describe the fact that this is an agreement for a shared traffic signal between us and East Lancaster Township. The city has an agreement with the township at a traffic signal at Pitney and Hempstead Roads. The agreement continues a cost sharing that includes a prior agreement with the township for signals at Greenfield Roads. Under the agreement, the township maintains the signals and bills the city for half of the cost. So it's an example of sharing the cost load and working together for the common good. So that will also be up on the May 28th agenda for vote consideration. We'll move on to Administration Bill number 7, 2019.
An ordinance of the Council of the City of Lancaster authorizing and directing the proper officers of the City of Lancaster to exercise the city's powers of eminent domain as set forth in sections 2801 and 3501.1 of the Third Class City Code, 11 PACS, section 2801 and 11 PACS, section 3501.1, and section 303 of the optional Third Class City Charter Law, 553 PS, section 41303, section 1501 of the Public Utility Code, 66 PACS, section 1501, and the Pennsylvania Business Corporation Law, 15 PACS, section 1511A3, to appropriate and take portions of that property known as 1401 Columbia Avenue, Lancaster Township, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, providing for the repeal of inconsistent ordinances, providing for the severability of the ordinance, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect in accordance with Pennsylvania law.
Thank you, Bernie. So Administration Bill number 7 in a nutshell is the city is in the process of planned construction of a large diameter water main. We've talked about it in the past. It's basically a main that's critical for our water usage. At this point in time, we have a single water main coming in from Oyster Point. If there would be a catastrophic event with that main, that would shut down water use for basically the entirety of the city and other areas. It's critical that we have a redundant main done to make sure if that ever happens, water service wouldn't stop for days, weeks, or even months theoretically until that main is built. Part of the path of this large diameter main goes through the property of 1401 Columbia Avenue. The city has been in negotiations with that property owner, and they've been unable to come to terms. Really, what appears to be the issue is the owner of that piece of property believes that there are commercial opportunities on that property, which raises the values. But in reality, there's a deed restriction on the property that only allows for residential construction. So the owner of the property is disputing that on their end, but on the city's perspective, the value is limited because there is only residential opportunities, not commercial opportunities. That is a dispute, which is why the city has been forced to go the eminent domain route. Just to be clear, I'm not speaking for the mayor, I'm certainly only speaking for council, but I'm guessing she shares it. Eminent domain is obviously a last resort for cities to use. We understand how important it is and how heavy-handed it can be at times, but this is a critical infrastructure component that a city absolutely needs and could really detriment the lives of thousands of people if we had an issue with the water main. So this conversation will continue. There'll be an appraisal done where fair market value will be given for the easement, and we'll go forward and we'll keep you posted on that. This will again come up for a vote at our May 28th meeting. Moving on to Administration Bill number 8, 2019.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lancaster, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, amending the Code of the City of Lancaster, Chapter 150, Health Standards, Section 153, abatement by city charge to authorize immediate abatement of unsanitary conditions causing a threat to health and safety, providing for the repeal of inconsistent ordinances, providing for the severability of the ordinance, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect as provided by Pennsylvania law.
Councilman Ballentine, if you would mind.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill amends the city's health standards code to authorize immediate abatement of unsanitary conditions. The city's current process involves providing a property owner a certain amount of time, which is typically about 10 days, to abate a property violation. Cleanup is not accomplished within that time. The city addresses the issue and bills the property owner. In some circumstances, the situation is so severe that action must be taken immediately to abate a health risk for the community. This amendment will allow for immediate action when there is a public health hazard.
Thank you. This will also come up at our May 28th meeting. We will now move into resolutions that will be voted on this evening. We'll start with Administration Resolution number 21, 2019.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster appointing special counsel for the City of Lancaster.
It's the shortest one we're going to have in a while. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. This resolution is, again, as briefly as we said it, to appoint a special counsel to the city. What we're looking at here is this special counsel will focus specifically on stormwater management issues, specifically wastewater system in the Manheim Township's Grandview Heights neighborhood. Obviously, many of you know by now, because we talk about it a lot, as we should, our green infrastructure plan and also our consent decree with the EPA. We must act, and we must act now and as broadly based as we can to make sure that the issues of stormwater going into the Conestoga are being addressed. The issue in Manheim Township's Grandview neighborhood is complex. There's a lot of conversations about how long it's been this way, where we go from here, who's responsible. I give the mayor a lot of credit. She has been in contact with Manheim Township officials. This is not something we've gone and done on our own. This is something that we want to work together on. But the issue is important enough that the mayor feels, and we agree that special counsel is pertinent to take a look at this issue in specific. So that is the reason why we'll be appointing, and it'll be specific focus on that issue. And I believe, Mayor, we agree that once this issue is resolved, and whatever that looks like in terms of resolution, that special counsel will go away because this is a specific issue, correct? Okay, just want to be clear. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Other council comments from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ballentine.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Whittle.
Aye.
The President Reichenbach.
Aye. Move on to Administration Resolution number 22, 2019.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster requesting a Green Lease Trails and Recreation Program grant of $193,950 from the Commonwealth Financing Authority to be used for the Conestoga Pines Trail.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Administration Resolution number 22 will be a grant from the Commonwealth Financing Authority. It'll pay for construction of a trail that would connect the pedestrian bridge at the Waterworks, what's currently known as the Waterworks, with the Conestoga Pines Park. The trail will be about 1,200 feet in length. The trail will be constructed over an area where the city plans to replace a sewer line. The specific construction cost right now is unknown. There'll be an estimate that will be provided soon, and that amount will be the amount of the grant request. The city's matching amount for the grant would be 15% of the cost. For those of you who grew up in this area or are familiar with this area and used to go to Conestoga Pines Pool, you knew for a fact that it was hard as heck to get there because you couldn't cut across, even though all of us wanted to. Let's be honest, some of us did. We weren't supposed to, but we did anyway. But the reality is it was very difficult for residents of our city who don't have a vehicle to get to that park, and it's a beautiful park. So the hope is once this is constructed, there'll be a direct, safe connection point from the Walnut Street area to come through. You'll be able to walk down and cross the bridge, saving people a lot of time, and it'd be a lot safer than walking the whole way down King Street, going up Pitney Road and coming around, which many of us did over the years. So that is the hope that this grant will provide. Any comments from council? From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ballentine.
Aye.
Ms. Gray.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Wayo.
Aye.
And President Reichenbach.
Aye. We'll move on to Administration Resolution Number 23, 2019.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster requesting a watershed restoration and protection program grant of $300,000 to the Commonwealth Financing Authority to be used for stormwater treatment at Longs Park.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion and a second. I hope I'm doing a good presentation of Councilman Graupera tonight because I'm repeating all of his stuff, so I hope he's watching. This request for funds will construct a wetland in Longs Park. Previously, the city had planned to accommodate stormwater runoff from Park City Center in the wetland. Plans now call for stormwater from the adjacent R.R. Donnelly printing site to be pumped to the wetland. The process will improve the water quality in the Park Pond and in the Little Conestoga Creek as well. The city will again provide a 15% match to the $300,000 grant. Comments from council? From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ballentine.
Aye.
Ms. Gray.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Wayo.
Aye.
And President Reichenbach.
Aye. Administration Resolution Number 24, 2019.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster authorizing and approving the disposition by auction or other means of certain personal property in the previous Streets Department garage located at 750 Fairview Avenue.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman Ballentine.
Thank you, Mr. President. Essentially, this ordinance allows for the auction of obsolete or surplus items. The city typically holds an auction every few years. The last one was 2017, so this has to be done by resolution. Some of the items that are going to be auctioned include file cabinets and other office furniture, unclaimed bikes recovered by police vehicles, and other items. And one of the questions that came up was, could we donate or give bikes, sponsor bikes, but they're in a condition that doesn't allow for reuse, so all items have to be terminated. And that concludes that.
Thank you. Other council comments? From the public? Sure.
Every town, two basic trusts. Now, Mr. Ballentine, you said donate bicycles, right? And now, when you donate bicycles, you want to donate all kind of bicycles to all type of people, or not to people who got them?
Well, in this case, the bikes are not in a condition to be donated, so they're just going to be made obsolete.
Okay, I know the city got a lot of bicycles that are not good enough at all for nobody. So, the bicycles, dirty bicycles should be donated to everybody down the line. Bicycles really are not, now you gotta pay to have them fixed.
Right.
Right. And then that's a bicycle should be donated out, because if I gotta pay to get the bike fixed, right, then if you don't donate, then if you can auction, then you gotta pay to get the bike fixed. The city gotta pay all the money to get the bike fixed.
To auction them?
Yeah. No. Let's say for auction, right? I'll get the bikes, but they're not fixed. I'll put them up for donation because I don't have to worry about the bikes here. Because I don't gotta fix it. The bikes are good, right? Or good down the line, I can put them off auction down the line. But the bikes that gotta be fixed, flat tire, the brakes ain't working, the rim, something down the line, right? I said, yes, I can donate some, because there's a lot of people out here, right, would take bicycles and they'll fix them their own self and put it for your kids.
Once the winners of the auction,
No, but so I say, okay, the auction is only for people, on the auction for when they get stuff, good stuff. They don't sell bad. I go look at the auction all the time. Or I'm going for the bicycles that are not no good. Are you gonna auction them too?
if they're on the list, they will be auctioned off, yes.
That's all I was asking for. So thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any other comments for the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ballentine.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell.
Aye.
And President Reichenbach.
Aye. Move into our second public comment period. Comment period is open for issues not on tonight's agenda. I would ask that you limit the duration of your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on any issue this evening? Hearing none, we will pivot to the report of the mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Last Thursday night, about 300 people attended the launch of the city's climate action plan at the Ware Center. The biggest lifts for us to achieve the goals outlined are investments in our public works infrastructure, specifically water and wastewater. It costs a lot of money and utilizes a lot of energy to pump millions of gallons of water and wastewater throughout our city and the surrounding suburbs. An important part of launching this plan is also to provide thought leadership and momentum around local efforts to address climate change in the absence of movement at the state and national levels. Scientists tell us that we have 12 years to make some seismic shifts to our fossil fuel-based economy before the consequences of climate change grow more intense. We know that climate change adversely impacts those on the margins and is arguably the root cause of climate refugees seeking welcome in our city, America's refugee capital. We don't have to look far to see the real-life impacts on our city and our citizens around climate change. Next steps are both internal and external. Internal, working to inform and implement, particularly within DPW, to prioritize the shifts we've identified and plan for resource allocation and identify resources that are from potentially private investment. External, working with partners like Regenerate Lancaster, who plan to work countywide to reach a carbon neutral Lancaster by 2030. And in all of these cases, continue to provide leadership within Lancaster County to show what works and push upwards for state and federal policy shifts. I appreciate Council's commitment to these goals and the important work ahead, and I appreciate those council members who were able to attend last Thursday night. Second item and final item for tonight, keeping it short, is about 250 College Avenue, the former home of UPMC. On May 20th at 7 p.m. right here in Council Chambers, we will be having a community meeting focused on the details regarding zoning and land use challenges and opportunities with the site and the collective hopes and expectations of residents and its government as it relates to the redevelopment of that site. Earlier today, I participated in the groundbreaking for Presbyterian Senior Living, which will be adding affordable housing for seniors along the Walnut Street side of the Long's home property. And they will also be an important constituency as we think about how we move forward with the UPMC site. And I know that at the top of my wish list is more affordable housing and thinking about mixed use related to the future of UPMC, that entire city block that we will be visioning on May the 20th. So I hope you'll be able to join us.
Thank you, Mayor. My report is brief this evening. Last week, in my role as council president, also in my role as the chairman of the Lancaster City Housing Authority Board, I had the pleasure with the City Housing Authority Executive Director Barb Wilson of escorting the Undersecretary of Housing and Urban Development from Washington, D.C. Throughout the city of Lancaster to take a look at housing authority properties on the ground level. We were honored to have him visit Clearly, our political climate right now is such that there is tremendous amount of hostility out there. I was pleased to see that this gentleman came in with an open mind and was looking for solutions and looking for honest feedback for us. During the meeting, we had representatives from LHOP, the mayor attended, City Redevelopment Authority, County Redevelopment Authority, HDC, Lancaster City Alliance, and others around the table to have a frank conversation about how are we going to get the housing that our community needs. Not only how are we going to get the housing our community needs, but how are we going to get the funding to redo the housing that's been so desperately needed. For those of you who are familiar with the towers on Church Street, those towers were built when I was born. They have not been rehabbed since. You can see how old I am right now. Imagine how difficult those buildings are. Thank you very much. That hurt. That's how old I am. But the reality is those buildings need completely retrofitted. It's unfair that we have residents living in conditions that, while they are livable, they're not appropriate. They're not enough. It's not good enough. So these conversations are hard. There's never enough money out there to get the job done. My request of the undersecretary was to give us real solutions that we can use. I wasn't going to ask for policy changes at the Washington level because frankly we know how long that's going to take and we can't wait. We just can't wait. So my request was, tell us how we can push the limits of the regulations to the full extent. Tell me what I'm allowed to do right up against it. Not to get in trouble, but I'm willing to push the envelope for our community. So what can we do? We had very, very good conversations around that. More conversations to come. I will make a commitment to council and the public to continue to report on those as they come. We're hoping that this is the beginning of the conversation, certainly not the end of it, and I'll certainly let you know as we go forward. But former Councilwoman Wilson, who's now the Executive Director of the City Housing Authority, is absolutely committed to making this happen. And if you know former Councilwoman Wilson, you know when she wants to make something happen, it generally happens. So she is holding people accountable to make sure that people that are living in our public housing are living with dignity and the way that they should be. So I will keep you posted on that, but I think it was a productive visit. Comments from council members?
Last night I had the privilege of attending the Magic Talo Experience event, and it was just wonderful to see so many members of our community who were there to celebrate the scholars and their achievements. Not often do we get to celebrate education and the paths of our young people, especially when we're looking at them to be our succession planning, to be the ones that come back and make sure that Lancaster continues to go in the right place. So it was wonderful just to see so many people there and to kind of look at the young people who are graduating this year and in hopes of their bright futures. So education is a beautiful thing, and we don't get to celebrate it enough.
Thank you, Councilman.
Mr. President?
Yes?
I was, along with Councilwoman's Diaz and Craig, able to attend the Climate Action Plan presentation. And while I recognize it as the first of many steps, I just want to commend the mayor, the city, and in particular the public works employees that are here in the audience tonight, because addressing these challenges, as was mentioned, while also keeping the city financially viable for the next 25, 50, 100 years is going to be one of the hardest things that we do as a city government. So I just want to recognize all of those people for rolling up their sleeves and diving in.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments? If I'm hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening.